Hi everybody, Nomad here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about item modifiers in pathofexile. Basically, what are implicit item modifiers, what are prefixes, and what are suffixes. If you've heard these words thrown around in PoE and don't know exactly what they are, well, you come to the right place. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Alrighty everybody, before we get started, I want you to do one thing. I want you to open up your options, you go to the input tab, and then where it says show advanced item descriptions, I want you to bind that to a hotkey. In my case, it's Alt. You can bind it to whatever hotkey you want. And basically what that hotkey allows you to do is hover over any item, and then once you hold down Alt, it's going to show you what modifiers on that item are implicit modifiers, what modifiers are prefix modifiers, and what item modifiers are suffix modifiers on an item. In pathofexile, every item in the game has an inherent implicit modifier that does a very unique thing. And it's usually it's very unique to the item itself. So all Corral amulets have a regen life per second modifier, which as you can see here, if you hold down the Alt key, it says implicit modifier regenerate life per second. So that's like the implicit modifier for the Corral amulet. And then you see here, Lapis amulet will always be intelligence. Onyx amulets will always be plus a number to all attributes. And then an Amber amulet will be plus 25 strength. And this is true for rings, belts, whatever have you, right? And right here, I have some rings here. Sapphire ring, cold resistance. Amethyst is usually chaos. Paw ring is usually maximum mana. And an opal ring is usually increased elemental damage, right? And then you have like your basic cold to lightning, fire to cold, and then fire to lightning. You can kind of tell which you can tell what element it is by paying attention to the gem colors, but I never really got too deep into that. But you can explore it if that's something that fancies you, And again, like a ruby ring is just plain old fire resistance, right? And also this applies to belts as well, like I stated earlier. Like I said, a leather belt is maximum life. Heavy belt is basically, the implicit modifier right there is strength. And then the chain belt has an implicit modifier of maximum energy shield. And as you can see here, for unique items usually have bases that are derived from normal items. So what I'm trying to say here is Headhunter is always a leather belt. A leather belt has an implicit modifier of, to maximum life. And if you see here, a Headhunter has an implicit modifier that's, a number to maximum life also. That's never going to go away unless you corrupt it and you get something else that replaces that implicit modifier. As far as I know, the only way you can replace an implicit modifier in game is by corrupting it and it turns into something else. But that's not always the case. Corruption, it can be a little tricky. Maybe I'll do a video on that later down the line. Also, Flask also have implicit modifiers, but when you hold down the Alt key, you don't really see them labeled as implicit modifiers. But in this case, if it's a Quicksilver Flask, it will always be 40% increased move speed. And then if it's a Diamond Flask, it will always be 100% increased global critical strike chance. And again, that's true for anything. Like for example, this unique flask here, it's a Ruby Flask. A Ruby Flask typically grants plus 50 to fire resistance and 20% less fire damage taking. But since this is a Dying Sun Ruby Flask, it has the increased area of effect during effect, and then skills fire 2 additional projectiles during effect. And another thing about item modifiers, basically we've talked about the implicit modifiers, now let's talk about the prefixes and the suffixes, which appear below the implicit modifiers usually. An important rule to remember in pathofexile, an item can only have up to 3 prefix modifiers and only up to 3 suffix modifiers. Those are a total of 6 modifiers. An item cannot exceed more than 6 modifiers. 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. Here I'm going to demonstrate an item that can have a maximum amount of only 6 modifiers like I talked about previously, basically 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. I'm going to just use an Orb of Alchemy and it's going to gain a random amount of modifiers. So basically we have 1 prefix there and we already have 3 suffix modifiers, which means if I use an Exalted Orb, which augments a rare item with a new random modifier, I can only use it a maximum of 2 times. So I'm going to use it once, and it's going to add a prefix, which added the maximum energy shield, and I'm going to use it once more, which is going to add the prefix of maximum life. So as you can see here, this item has now 3 prefix modifiers and 3 suffix modifiers, which means if I click my Exalted Orb again, it's going to give me an error showing item has no more space for mods. So the item is filled. I cannot put any more mods on this item unless I use an Orb of Annulment to remove either a suffix or a prefix like so. And again, it's random. For, if you just use an Orb of Annulment like that, it's just going to be random. Whichever mod it picks, it's not really weighted in any way. There are ways to manipulate that, but that's a more advanced topic. Maybe I'll cover that in another video. Also, one quick thing I wanted to mention. Basically, modifiers have tiers to them. Basically, if you see the top prefix modifier right there, the 61 to maximum life, it's tier 4, right? Basically, the highest the tier can go is tier 1. Tier 1 maximum life will have a higher value than a tier 4 maximum life you see on the screen. And each modifier has a range that it can land on. So basically, a tier 4 life modifier on a belt has a range of 60 to 69, as you can see on your screen. The number that it picked on the item was 61, so therefore this item will give you 61 to maximum life from the prefix modifier on this item. And again, that prefix modifier is added to the implicit modifier, which is also a maximum life modifier. So you add 38 and you add 61 together, and that'll be the total life you gain from this item. Also guys, if you were curious as to what the mod pool is for prefixes and what the mod pool is for suffixes, basically you can go to a website called pathofexile, and then in the choose a base group option, you can click any basically whatever item you're trying to craft, you can click whatever you want. Again, you have body armor, boots. For the demonstration, we're just gonna click jewelry here, and we're gonna click ring. Basically, you have two columns here. You have the prefixes and you have the suffixes. Basically, on the left side, on the prefixes, these are all the prefix mods that the ring can roll. And basically, on the right side is the suffix column. Basically, on the right side, these are all the suffix modifiers a ring can roll. And also, different modifiers have different tiers. As you can see here, there's a tiers column here. So basically under prefixes, let's say like evasion rating, right? It has 7 tiers. If you left click this, you can see the different number of tiers. And as you can see, as the tier number gets higher, the mod value gets better and better. Let's see, tier 1 evasion rating is 151 to 170. And tier 7 evasion rating is only 3 to 10. Again, you always want the tier 1, and it shows you the chances you can hit that basically on the right side. And it also shows you the item level requirements for the item. So basically, you can only hit tier 1 evasion rating on an item level 84 and or above ring in this case. Also, if your item is influenced, basically you have shaper, elder. Again, as long as the left column, as long as the item modifier is on the left side, it is a prefix. And then if it's on the right side, it's a suffix, right? So basically, if your item is shaper influenced, it can also choose from this mod pool right here of prefixes. And then it can also choose from this mod pool of suffixes. And again, the item, no matter if it's influenced or double influence or triple influence, an item can only have up to 6 modifiers. It can only have 3 suffixes and 3 prefixes. No more, no less. Well, it can have less, but you want to make sure you fill out all your slots so you get the greatest amount of benefit from your item. And again, this is like, hunter influence, warlord, basically all the influences are here, essentially. Yeah, so just, knock yourself out. It's a very fun site to explore, guys. Check it out, definitely. And there you have it, folks. Basically, a quick little video talking about item modifiers on pathofexile. We talked about implicit item modifiers, and then we talked about prefixes and suffixes. We're going to keep it short and sweet in this video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. And if you want to see videos on other topics that I haven't made a video on yet, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. No mind out.